on my drive home from the gym yesterday, because, this entire show works out. On my drive home.
Except for this guy. I won't say anything.
I didn't go today. On the drive home, I was thinking about the Dolphins and the Cowboys and just how the two of them are sort of feeling the same way in each conference, where these are two really loaded teams, all the talent in the world. But they just can't seem to beat the teams like the Eagles and the Chiefs, the top dogs in the league. And I was trying to figure out why, what is going on in these games. And I do think it comes down to situational plays and big moments, like third downs. You always see, I remember in the Dolphins game, Jalen Hurts, the big fourth down conversion for a touchdown. Think about Dak stepping out of bounds against Philly on the 2-point conversion. They're an inch short on the Ferguson touchdown, taking the big sack. You can go on and on. The Tyreek Hill fumble against the Chiefs. There's always some big play that the top tier team makes in those moments that separates them from the rest of the pack. And the Dolphins and Cowboys are right there, but in the big games, for some reason, it doesn't seem to go their way. So I'm trying to, I'm not a coach. I can't go in and analyze exactly what's going wrong in these moments. But I tried to see, is this recurring over and over again? And I took a look at Dak Prescott and Mike McCarthy. Since they've teamed up in 2020, they were favored in 35 games. And I think this is great because, Jack, you brought up Ian Book with Notre Dame one time, the old Notre Dame quarterback, and you said he won all the games he was supposed to win. And
the best
he
I've
lost,
ever seen at that. He's the best
and he
I've ever seen
lost
at that.
all the games he was supposed to lose.
Yeah.
The Cowboys in 35 games favored with Dak and Mike McCarthy are 26-9. Generally, they win those games. And that's a lot of games to be favored in. You have to give them credit there.
Yeah, and a lot of that favoriting is probably by like 3 points or something too. So winning's not nothing.
Yeah, no, winning those games means something. Like, they're able to take care of the teams they're supposed to beat most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Since 2020, in 9 games, they were underdogs, a 1-8 record. Their only win against the Chargers at the start of the 2021 season. So every time the Cowboys are in those big games, usually when the Cowboys are an underdog, it's a big game. They're coming up a little bit short. Sometimes very short, like San Francisco this year. And it's just one of those situations where, when does it happen? I don't think it's a lack of talent with these teams. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would. I'm curious to know, I don't know if you have that or not, how many of those 9 games, they're 1-8 as dogs, right? How many of those 9 games were played on the road versus in Dallas?
I don't have that. I'll
Because,
try and find
like,
that.
in the sake of Miami, it is so hard to go on the road and beat the best. And they haven't had one home game.
We actually have 0 basically home games. I saw a thing, the Chiefs, every hard team they play this year, like all the top
it's always at home.
Well, it's always Narrowhead. Yeah, they host the Eagles.
Literally, you could look at their schedule. Every hard game, the Eagles, us, like anybody else you could think of that's hard, they play in Arrowhead.
But that one game, the biggest game, or the most recent biggest game in Miami, when they hosted Buffalo, they won. Like, they went to Cincy and lost. San Francisco, they lost. In Germany, they lost.
Well, Dallas this year, too, if you want to be fair to the Cowboys, go on the road to San Francisco, go on the road to Philly.
Yeah, I'm wondering how many of these games have actually been in their home stadium.
Miami's actually been a little bit better in the 24 games. So 2020 happened to also be Tua's first year, as well as the first year McCarthy and Dak were paired up. In 24 favored games, 19-5. So we talk about that this year, especially. They're 5-0 against teams they're favored and just blowing them out. Since 2020, underdogs in 20 games, 10-10. This year, though, 1-3, and we've seen, their one win was also against the Chargers. So, Ziggy, let me ask you before we move on to your topic. Who do you think is closer to winning the big game between the Dolphins and the Cowboys?
So, for me, I think it's the Cowboys, and here's why. When I look at the Cowboys in general, it seems to me like they really are very, very close, and then usually something fluky doesn't go their way. But this is a team that's basically playing well enough to win, and I think eventually they're going to break through that. With the Dolphins, more often than not, it's not a close loss. Sometimes it is, right? So, like, it was a close loss in Buffalo last year. It was a close loss to the Chiefs this week, though I don't think it was as close as the score makes it look. But Dallas usually doesn't go and lay eggs like Miami did against the Bills just a few weeks ago. So I think the Cowboys are closer just because they're better on defense. They're pretty good on offense. And I think if things just get a little bit luckier for them, they'll break through.
Yep. So you think it's a little more of having that break go their way, while Miami has a little more work to do.
Though either of these teams, I mean, I think both these teams are being underrated right now because they come up short in big games.
Yeah.
But you have to keep in mind, right? Like, you don't have better than a 50% chance of winning these anyway. Like, no one in the NFL really does. So I don't hold it against them all that much.